Ollie, I did want to touch on Sheffield United. I suppose the theme is early season surprise packages. I guess for Sheffield United, the surprise is how bad you've been. Were you? I imagine there are some Blades fans that are a little bit apprehensive going into the season, but I can't imagine you were expecting you to be this poor.
Worse than the worst case scenario, to be honest, Gab. It was one of those where, coming into the season, we all had some question marks. It felt as though, obviously, swapping Wilder for Sellers, we knew that the floor for the squad, for the club, had gone down. That was unquestionable. The point was that we were moving to a more exciting style of play. It was going to be fun watching United. It wasn't going to be dull, play poor, win 1-0. It was going to be exciting and fun. We were going to score goals, and it was all going to be sweetness and light while we attacked everybody in front of us. But this is so far away from that. Like, it's just a million miles away from anything like what we were promised. Like I say, it's worse than, in my head, the worst case scenario would probably have seen us sat on 3 points now. Like, that was the worst I could possibly imagine it being.
Yeah.
So to be sat here, not just on no points, but bottom of the league, having scored only 1 goal, it's really poor at the moment. And at the minute, it's looking difficult to see where it gets better, because there's problems all the way through this squad at the moment. And there's a lot of work to do to get us right. And, well, not much time for us to do it.
Yeah, I'm actually astounded, Ollie, that you've not signed in certain areas that clearly needed addressing. You clearly needed a Vinicius Souza replacement. You clearly needed to replace Harry Souttar. It's gone back to 2 transfer windows now. And I just feel like the Sheffield United board are just seem to be almost ignoring things that are just patently obvious.
Yeah, they have to take the blame for this. Ruben Sellers is getting some stick. And don't get me wrong, I think he deserves some, because, he's not getting the most out of the squad available to him. I'd said on Twitter the other day, he's not got the ingredients to make a steak, but he has got the ingredients to make a fish finger sandwich. So why is he throwing everything in the bin and then burnt his hands on an empty tray? Like, there's no need for us to move forward like this. We should be doing better than this, regardless of what the owners have done. However, the entire blame for the start to the season has to sit with them, because they've not, like you say, filled obvious gaps in the team. I've been screaming since Boxing Day. Harry Souttar got injured on Boxing Day last year, and we have still not signed a replacement. It's the 25th of August. Now, the positive news is that hopefully tomorrow there should be an announcement that Japhet Tanganga will be a Sheffield United player, and he'll be wearing red and white for the weekend. And that changes things quite dramatically in terms of having somebody through the door. He is the kind of signing that makes a huge difference to how everything feels at Sheffield United.
It's like, Ollie, it's championship proven, ready to go straight away. That's what you need right now. You don't need players who are going to need time to settle in. You need players who are good to oven ready.
They need to walk out of the door and immediately be ready to play on Saturday. So it's great to see that we're finally making moves like that one. But he's 1, and we need about 5. Like, we have just got gaps all the way through the team. At the weekend, the midfield at the weekend was still, we were playing Millwall. If you know anything, Millwall are a great team. And I mean this with all due respect. They are much better than us on Saturday. They deserve to win the game. I don't want to take anything away from them. But if there's one thing when you play against Millwall, it's that you're going to get bullied. You can't afford to be small and weak and pointless. And that's exactly what we were. We had a midfield of Gustavo Harmer, Callum O'Hare, and Sidney Peck. Individually, 3 good players. People watching are probably getting a tiny violin out, going, oh no, you've got Gustavo Harmer and Callum O'Hare. That's not a functioning midfield. Like, they cannot play as a 3 in central midfield, because Sidney Peck has to do the defensive work of 3 men. And the other 2, they've got so much more to do than they are doing, shall we say, in terms of being able to take us forward. So we need a Vinny Souza replacement, somebody who can just dominate in the centre of midfield. We need a right winger. Tom Cannon played on the right wing. Now, I know lots of things about Tom Cannon. He's not been fantastic for us, but sticking him out on the right wing helps nobody. It's not going to do his confidence any good. He got jeered off by the fans because he'd played rubbish, but he didn't have a hope in hell of being able to actually play well. So we've just got square pegs in round holes everywhere. And the squad looks a real mess with a lot of work on to get it right before the end of the window.
I mean, how realistic is it, Ollie, that you're going to be able to sign those 5 players you need before the weekend's game? Because obviously, time sort of marching away from you a little bit, and you've got to be realistic. So I'm just wondering, is there an 11 that you can play for Middlesbrough on Saturday lunchtime that's just slightly better balanced? I mean, if you look at the bench from players you can bring on, gosh, I mean, I must admit, I'm really struggling with players that you think
it's got to be Jibril Samare. He's the only one who can bring more balance to the team. If I'm honest, the way I think we'll look, let's not look at Saturday. Let's look at Ipswich after the international break. Transfer window's closed. Everything's done. Let's look at Ipswich after the international break. I would expect our team to look something like Michael Cooper in goal, Wu, a new right back who's coming from. Apologies for murdering this. Zervna Kvezda, is it? I think is it Red Star Belgrade, or I think somebody's changed the name. And then the central backs will probably look something like Tyler Binden and Japhet Tanganga, Burrows at left back. I'm confident that that's not a bad back 5. Like, I'll take that. That feels confident. It feels like a team that you could put some faith in. Midfield, I would expect to be Samare, probably Hamer and O'Hare, which is still dangerously unbalanced in terms of actually being able to find a proper structure to it. But at least you've got somebody there who is defensively minded, is about 6'3", can run around, has looked quite good in the minutes he's had so far. He started against Swansea, and I thought he was probably one of our better players in terms of being able to be that combative midfielder. He's not really big enough and fast enough and athletic enough to fill Vinny Sousa's shoes, but at least he's something in terms of finding more of a balance. And then the wingers would likely be Barry, Brooks, with Campbell up front. And that team should be better than what we're seeing at the moment. I don't think it's a massively competitive right at the top end of this division team. I think it might be somebody who should be in the conversation to be trying to finish 6th, but is probably in the mix rather than confidently being able to get there. There's rumours that other players are coming in. Obviously, we're talking about Ben Mee has been training with the club, 35-year-old centre-half, not played much football in the last couple of years. We've got Danny Ings training with us today, 34-year-old centre-forward, not played much football in the last 2 or 3 years. We've got Nathan Redmond training with us, 31-year-old winger, not played much football in the last 2 or 3 years. It's looking a bit desperate, to be honest, in terms of the recruitment. We were rumoured to be after Phil Billing. He's obviously going back to Denmark. He's not going to come to Bramall Lane. We're rumoured to be in for Timmy Rugbinham. He's started both games so far for Everton and looked good. He's not going to be coming in. So I just don't really know that there's anybody who will come in. It feels like panic stations. And I think bigger than what happens on the pitch this season, it's too early to make any sweeping statements, but let's just assume it continues as it is. I don't think we'll get relegated. Clip it up, send it me at the end of the season. I don't think we'll get relegated as it stands. We should be better than that. We'll change as manager at some point, and somebody would just make us a defensive unit that then has Gustavo Harmer to do moments of magic and keep you up. That might be
if Harmer doesn't go to Leeds.
If Harmer doesn't go to Leeds. If Harmer goes to Leeds, then rip up all of this and throw it in the bin, along with the rest of my mental fortitude.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
No, it's fair, Gab. If we don't laugh, we'll cry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very much one of those where the owners have got so much to answer for. They need to come up and front up for all of this. They've allowed 11 players have left our team. 5 players who started at Wembley in the playoff final have left. We've not replaced them at all. We've barely brought anybody through the door. We've not got any permanent signings that aren't youth Bulgarians who are going to go and sit in us under 21s and then probably go to Dunfermline for nothing. It all feels a bit desperate. And then now we hear rumours that Mee, Ings, Redmond are coming in. Individually, like them all. They bring experience. They bring a lot of stuff that we're missing at the minute. But that's panic at the 25th of August where the plans have fallen apart. We've got an ownership who've got no clue what they're doing. They've completely disconnected from everything that's happening at the club, and they're not giving any comms to tell us what's going to happen. It's hard to look beyond that. On the pitch, it's awful. Off the pitch, it's arguably even worse. And so there's a lot to do to get this right. And I've got no confidence at the minute the owners know what they're doing to fix it. And that only ever ends in disaster.
Yeah, I think you're not. I think Tanganga would be a brilliant signing if you could get him. You're not going to get 5 players of the Tanganga profile and form at this stage of the window. Really, the best you can hope for is good, experienced players who are short of match practice because they're out of someone else's plans, or you're going to get loan deals, and they're not necessarily the players that you can think can go straight in. So that's the position that the club's left itself in. And I think there's a bit of a discrepancy because when Ruben Tellez was appointed, I don't think the statement from the board would be it's okay for us to drop off and have a rebuilding transitional campaign. The expectation was to challenge for promotion. And I think there's a massive disconnect between what the expectation has been from the board and actually what they've been willing to do to strengthen their squad and replace those key players. So I think, I think for the ticket for the, I think fans are entitled to be disillusioned at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's fair, and I think we need some comms. We need either the owners or their mouthpiece, Stephen Bettis, to come out and do some kind of statement to us. Tell us what's going on. What are the owners admitting they've made a mistake? They've got this summer wrong. They need to do better, or as has been suggested by someone, I'm not saying this is it. Clearly, it's not. This is an extreme stance. Are they just asset stripping us? Because at the minute, we've sold £20 million worth of talent. We've received a parachute payment from the Premier League. We've spent nothing. We've signed youth players from Bulgaria and loans. Where's the money gone? Like I think we've saved something like £90,000 a week in wages, £20 million in transfer fees. Where is the money going to try and make this squad competitive? We're a parachute payment team. We're supposed to have a huge advantage over the rest of the league because we've got all this, dirty Premier League money that's feeding us. Well, not feeding us at all. I don't know where it's gone other than into the pockets of some people in America. So, yeah, it's really difficult to sort of feel connected with the club at the moment just because of how much there is to do. But early, 3 games in, mantra in the mirror, nothing is decided in August. We repeat it to each other until it feels true. But there's a lot on and a lot to do. And the owners, well, I've got no confidence in them long term. Now, bearing in mind they've owned the club 8 months and this is the position we're in. Who knows what it's going to look like when they've owned us 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. We only have to look over the city to see how bad it can get. Even Chansiri spent some money for the first 3 or 4 years. He found some down the back of it. You know what I mean? He managed to fund them for 5 years before it all fell apart. We're not even going to get that. We're going to just go straight into a nosedive. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. We can't control it as fans other than just making our voices heard as much as possible. And hopefully they will hear us. They will learn from this and they will come out of it a much better ownership group than we've got at the minute, because this summer been nothing short of a disaster.